Tell me, which one of these explanations helps you understand temperature better? Explanation 1. Temperature is an intensive thermodynamic property that describes the average microscopic kinetic energy of a system's particles, and it determines the direction of heat flow between two objects, blah 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 blah. Or explanation 2. Everything is made up of tiny particles called atoms that are always wiggling. Even in something that looks totally still, like this cloth, or ice on a table, has tiny particles that are constantly wiggling inside it. They never fully stop. Temperature is just a measure of how much those atoms are wiggling. In ice, atoms are tightly squished, so they can't really wiggle a lot. They are packed close together. It's like atoms are stuck in a crowded concert. They can wiggle a bit, but really not that much. In steam, everything is loose and there is a lot of space. Atoms are now having zoomies like your cat or dog and are constantly going like this. They are just jumping around and dancing around everywhere. So, usually, higher temperature just means that atoms are dancing more. But we use temperature for calculating how hot or cold it is, not how much atoms are dancing, right? Before that, what even is heat in the first place? Heat is basically the jiggling energy passed from one atom to another. Imagine fast jiggling atoms and slow jiggling atoms. Every time they collide, the faster jiggling atom transfers a bit of its jiggling energy to the slower atom. So the faster one becomes a bit slower and the slower one becomes a bit faster. This keeps happening billions of times a second. Eventually, both sides end up at the same jiggling speed, so they don't really transfer any energy anymore. That's called equilibrium. Nobody is transferring energy anymore because they are moving at the same speed. That is why a hot cup of tea cools down to the room temperature and not the other way around. Fast moving atoms bump into slow moving atoms and make them faster while getting slower themselves. So, one line summary: temperature is basically how much those atoms are jiggling, and heat is how much of that jiggling energy is being transferred. Now, forgive me if I said something wrong because I am a finance student, but did you see how easy it was to understand that explanation? Now, the reason I gave such an explanation to you guys was that I had to explain the Feynman technique to you. The Feynman technique is a learning framework in which you basically explain a topic in simple plain language, avoiding complex technical fancy words, in order to find the gaps in your learning and improve your overall understanding of the topic. Now, despite the name, this technique wasn't actually made by Feynman himself. It was made by Scott Young in 2011, who's a Wall Street Journal best-selling author, a computer programmer, and also a self-education expert. But why is it then called the Feynman technique and not the Scott technique? Well, Scott Young himself took inspiration from Feynman, and that's the reason for the name. Look at the story. Before his graduate oral exams at Princeton, Feynman made a blank notebook called the Notebook of Things I Don't Know About. In this notebook, he went through physics, branch by branch, took each idea apart, and if he lacked understanding somewhere, that is, he got stuck somewhere, then he rebuilt that understanding by learning it again. Like this, he rebuilt each branch and idea of physics by himself in his own language and found the gaps and inconsistencies in his learning. One key point that we can extract from this is that Feynman refused to claim that he understood anything until he could explain it himself, until he could rebuild it in his own words by himself. There's a famous quote often attributed to Einstein: if you can't explain it simply, then you don't understand it. Aside from whether he actually said this or not, it perfectly captures the idea of this technique. Now let's get back to the technique itself. Scott Young designed a 4-step framework for this technique. Step 1. Choose a concept. Choosing a concept small enough that you can write it in 2 to 3 pages is very important. Read about it, watch a few lectures or videos on it, get the basic understanding of the topic that you are about to explain. Step 2. Explanation. Now explain it to a person who doesn't know about the topic but is willing to listen to you. And if a person like that does not exist, then you can explain it to an imaginary friend or write your explanations and visuals on a piece of paper. Main thing is that you must explain it without using any fancy words or technical words, such that even a kid could get the idea and basic understanding of the topic that you are talking about. Also write down where you get stuck. Step 3. Learning once again. Now go back to your source material and relearn the stuff where you got stuck. That rhymed surprisingly well. Step 4. Explain once again. Now explain everything once again and see if the explanation is good enough. If you get stuck, repeat these steps once again until you can explain everything simply and nicely without getting stuck. That is when you have understood the topic. Congrats. Okay, so now you know what the Feynman technique is and you have an example to understand it. In this section, I will be talking about why does the Feynman technique even work? What are the mechanisms behind it that actually make it useful? The first concept here is the illusion of explanatory depth. So here's a question for you. How does a zipper work? Not that you pull it and it closes. I mean actually explain it. What's happening inside those teeth? How do the two rows of metal lock into each other and separate that smoothly? Hundreds of times without you ever thinking about it. If you paused for a second there and felt a little stuck, that's exactly the point I'm trying to convey. There's an idea in psychology called illusion of explanatory depth. It's basically like this. We think we understand things way better than we actually do. Ask someone if they actually understand how a bicycle stays balanced or how a toilet flushes. And almost everyone will say yes confidently as they have seen it 1,000 times. Obviously, they think that they understand it. But the moment you ask them to actually explain the mechanism behind it, step by step, they will get stuck. Their confidence just falls apart. Now, I'm not a psychologist. I just read about this stuff enough to sound like one for a minute or so. So bear with me. The reason this happens is because there is a difference between recognizing something and actually understanding it. When you watch a lecture or read a book or watch a video like this, your brain goes like, okay, I get this. Because you're actually following along. You have a guide. And that feeling is true. But it's not the same as being able to rebuild that whole knowledge by yourself without any guidance from your memory. That's a whole different scenario. And that is the trap that this Feynman technique is built to expose. It doesn't let you hide behind the phrase, yeah, I know it. It forces you to actually produce the explanations, whether on paper or whether out loud in front of someone. And in that moment, the illusion breaks and your confidence just falls apart. And that's when you realize, I actually don't understand any of this stuff. I just knew it happened, but not the why and the how. Now, finding the gap is one thing, but knowing that you don't actually understand something doesn't automatically make you understand it, does it? This is where the second mechanism comes into place. Testing effect. There is a pretty well-known finding in learning science that goes something like this. Take two students. One rereads their notes like 5 times. The other one closes his notes and tries to pull out the information out of his memory instead, with nothing in front of him. Later on, the one who tried to remember it himself actually remembers it better compared to the one who just simply reread the notes, even though in the moment, rereading the notes feels more productive. This is called the testing effect or retrieval practice if you want a fancier name. The idea is that actually pulling information out of your brain makes you remember it way better compared to just rereading it. Think of your memory like a muscle. It's built on the use it or lose it philosophy. Recognizing an answer in front of you on a page is very easy. There's barely any effort put into it. But reaching into your own mind and actually pulling out that information is the hard part. And that is what actually builds the connection and strengthens your memory. And that's exactly what's happening when you explain something out loud to an imaginary friend or write it down on a piece of paper without glancing back at your source. You are not reviewing, you are retrieving. Every single time you do step 2 of this technique, you are basically giving yourself a mini test. And every time you get stuck and go back to relearn it, step 3, and then explain it again, step 4, you are retrieving it all over again, just a little better than the last time. So, the whole story short, illusion of explanatory depth is the part that actually shows you the problem. It's like a diagnostic. It exposes that your learning was actually way more shallow than you thought it was. Testing effect is the part that fixes it. It's the treatment. The actual act of retrieving and explaining it over and over again is what cements the knowledge, not rereading the same page for the 5th time and hoping it miraculously sticks this time. That's it for this one. Have a nice day.